Hey guys, welcome to the first build of my new YouTube channel, Master of None. And in this build series, we have a budget of $3,000 to make this F57 Mini Cooper S the perfect daily driver. Let's go! Let me tell you a little bit about the car and what our plan is. This is an almost brand new, completely stock 2023 Mini Cooper S. Really the only thing that I've done so far is to add these racing stripes on the hood because, why would you have a Mini without racing stripes, right? So this is my fiance's daily driver, and I'll just say that she's not a car person. But when we were shopping for a new car, she just absolutely fell in love with how fun it was to drive and its unique design, and I have to agree, it is a pretty good little hatchback as it is. It's surprisingly fuel efficient, pretty practical in getting around town, and with its B48 turbocharged engine, it's no slouch when you put it in sport mode and punch it. However, I do see a little bit of room for improvement, and like most cars, Minis have increasingly gotten away from their small, lightweight racing heritage and gotten bigger, fatter, softer, and cushier. And it's not the quietest interior, but everything from the road feel to the engine and the exhaust noise is pretty muted, so we're gonna make it just a bit more exciting. And like I mentioned, it is my fiance who's driving this car most of the time, so we don't want to make it so rough and raw that she's going to nag me to change it all back. Whoa! But we will tweak the suspension and give it a little bit more noise and power so it's more exciting when you want it to be. And of course, we're also going to try to make it look a little bit mean and menacing, although I admit the car looks pretty dang good in my opinion already. So we have a budget of around $3,000 to accomplish all this. And why $3,000? An upgrade to a John Cooper Works Mini would have been about $6,000, so I was mostly just wondering how much I could do with half the cost. And
this doesn't make any sense!
Yeah, I know, but hey, it's always more fun to build a car you want than to just write a check for it. So in this episode, we're going to go ahead and get started with the suspension, and in the next episode, we'll add a bit of noise and power, and on the third episode of this build, we'll tackle the aesthetics and creature comforts to build the perfect daily driver for my fiance. Just kidding. This is mostly for me, but maybe she won't notice. We're first going to install some performance springs, and here's the thing. Especially if you're working on a daily driver, oftentimes you don't have to spend a ton to get expensive coilover setups to get what you need. If you're just looking to lower the car a little bit to get a more aggressive stance and to improve handling without sacrificing too much ride quality, a good, nice set of lowering springs made from reputable brands like Dinan will do the trick just fine at fraction of the cost. These Dinan performance springs were made specifically for the F55, F56 Minis and designed to work with stock struts. And this will lower the car about an inch in the front and rear, which is perfect. And this should still leave enough clearance for speed bumps and driveways. So for the set of 4, the springs cost $225, which I thought was really good, until you realize that these are also basically needed. So Dinan makes a very heavy-handed recommendation to pair the springs with their supplemental ride quality handling kit, which are basically just shorter bump stops to account for the shorter springs. And these were $80, which honestly feels a little scammy. It is a lot to pay for some pieces of foam and rubber, and this kind of feels like a hidden fee for the springs. But you know what? They do say that you need them, so the total for now is $310, which I guess it's still not that much to pay to have sportier suspension. Okay, so now let's get them installed. I'll go ahead and do a montage here since it can get a little tedious for me to go through all the steps, but if you like seeing all the details or if you're working on a Mini yourself and you want to hear me explain all the steps, I'll release a extended cut of this episode very soon, so be sure to check that out. I just know that explaining all the nitty-gritty details is pretty terrible for view retention, and that hurts my YouTube algorithm. Now we'll go ahead and lower the car with all the wheels back on, and as much as I want to admire my work right away, we're going to take it out for a spin because the new springs need to settle, and then we'll take a proper measurement to see how much it actually got lowered. After about a 30-minute drive, I parked the car and I measured that the front was now sitting at 25 inches from floor to top of the fender, which is a full inch lower than stock, or when I measured it before. And this is about a quarter-inch lower than advertised, but I'm not too concerned about it since it was even on both sides, and the quarter-inch probably came from the slightly heavier engine of the S trim of the F56. And the rear is now sitting at 25 and a quarter, which is exactly 3/4 of an inch lower than before as advertised. And taking a step back and looking at things, the Mini does look much better with the suspension a little bit lowered, but there is still something that seems off to me, and I think it's how the wheels are recessed into the wheel well, which is now even more pronounced now that the car is lowered. I think the Mini could look even better with the wheels sitting more flush with the fender edge. And I really thought about buying wheels that have more of a negative offset to accomplish this, but that would basically blow my entire budget, so I decided to go with these. And I know everybody loves to hate them and doubt them, but here they are. These are wheel spacers made by ECS Tuning, and these are 12.5mm in the front and 15mm in the back. These are high-quality, hub-centric wheel spacers that should be just thick enough to give us a little better wheel fitment. And, just based on the marketing, it's possible that they give the car, better handling characteristics, but really, that's not why most people buy these. People buy them to either get better aesthetic fitment like me, or to clear a big brake hit, or to fit thicker tires. They also come with extended wheel bolts as a kit to ensure proper and safe installation, and these were $265 total for everything. Pretty expensive, but I guess not as expensive as a set of all new wheels and tires. After I got them installed in all four corners, we can now admire how the new springs and the wheel spacers came together. And I think it's fantastic. After driving it around for a while, I'm just loving this setup. Just driving it down the road, it really is as comfortable as the stock suspension, and it doesn't feel all that different even if the road is a little bit bumpy, but when you take a hard corner, they do feel different, and in a very good way. It feels firmer and more controlled, which is what I was looking for. And of course, the looks. I think it looks awesome, just with an inch lower and the wheels just a bit more flush with the fenders. And I'm satisfied with this, and I think this is well worth the first $500 of this build. And doing all this for $500, that's awesome, because we still have plenty of budget to play around with. In the next episode, we'll tackle even more exciting stuff, like giving the engine a little bit more juice, and making it sound a little angrier when you step on the gas. Alright, I think that's it for this one. Subscribe to the channel to catch the next episode of this build, or if you're the type to nerd out over the details, watch out for the extended cut of this episode where I explain the ins and outs of the installation and provide some more tips and thoughts. See you all again soon.